Hey
Hey,
Pip,
Charlie,
how you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
Sorry about the slight delay. I was on the hunt for a meeting room.
Oh right, yeah. No worries at all. How was your trip? Where you just come back from?
So I just got back from Colombia, which was incredible. Actually, this would be a perfect person to do an interview with next, I reckon, Charlie, because
Yeah,
have you heard of a woman called Caroline Casey?
bells are ringing, but
Okay,
you know,
she's quite a prominent disability activist. She's done a TED talk called "Seeing Life Without Limits." She's blind,
hmm
and she talks about disability in the workplace. But she's a huge adventurer as well. So she's crossed India on an elephant. She's just
wow,
the reason I was in Colombia was because she was horse riding across the entire length of the country
yeah,
to end in something called One Young World in Bogota, which is like a meeting of business leaders.
hmm
And she's one of those people that's really, really inspiring. And you just think, oh my God, I will follow you into battle. Let me know when and where to go.
yeah.
But yeah, she's a real adventurer, a real explorer, and happens to be blind. So
And
yeah.
presumably this was all for her a charity that she's got it.
Yeah, so she's trying to kickstart a global campaign called Valuable,
hmm
which aims to show the value of the 1 billion people who live in the world with disability to the workplace.
Yeah.
She's like, currently, in terms of work, we don't really, she was like, we talk about race, we talk about gender, sexuality, but she's sort of saying that disability isn't quite there yet. We've got a real fear of talking about it for fear of getting something wrong. And just like, let's just have a conversation, like offend me if you have to, like I'd
Yeah,
rather have a conversation and get it out
yeah.
there. So yeah, she's just fascinating.
She sounds great. Where's she from?
She's from Ireland,
Okay,
so it's an Irish firecracker. And,
lovely. Well,
yeah.
boy, yeah, it must be amazing. So how did you start with this trip? You cycled back from Malaysia. What were you doing in Malaysia in the first place?
Do you know what? I guess I was in Malaysia originally because I had a bit of a false start career-wise. I joined Innocent Drinks on their grad scheme
Oh, okay.
and was really bad at selling things. So
Mm.
I knew that I loved travel, and I knew I was probably about to get sacked. So I was like, how can I jump before I'm pushed?
Yeah.
So I basically ended up doing a master's in Hong Kong in journalism.
hmm
So that sort of took me to the Asia region. Spent a couple of years reporting in Hong Kong, and then moved over to Malaysia to cover their election.
hmm
And my partner and I, we'd always talked about coming back overland, and we sort of came up with the idea of like, why not cycle back? And I'd never really done any long distance cycling / any cycling beyond around Oxford when I was there at uni. And yeah, so it was a bit of a challenge, Charlie.
I
Really
bet.
did. I was like, I can't do this. My bum hurts. You picked the wrong girl. Like, it was just a mess.
Yeah.
But yes, ultimately, you sort of treat it like a day job. You get up in the morning, you sit on the saddle, you cycle, you get there in the end.
And who did you do the bike ride with?
So I did it with my partner, who's also called Charlie.
Yeah.
And he was, honestly, I think he gave me the best piece of advice I've ever heard, which was literally when I was 3 weeks in, crying on the side of the road, having a tantrum like a 3-year-old. And he said, Pip, this is not a physical journey, this is a mental one. And ever since then, I'm like, right, if I've got it in the head, I can do it. And I think so many of these things, it's just about grit. And actually, that's something I'm really passionate about now, is I talk to a lot of schools about, don't chase happiness, chase adventure, because we put this premium in society on being happy all the time. And it's one emotion of many. And the human experience is summed up in an adventure, because there are days when you're like, this is bloody miserable. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And then, the next day you can wake up to an amazing sunrise and be like, oh, this is the best day ever. So I think if we approach life with a little bit more through real eyes, I think, and I think adventure teaches you that, and the grit as well. When things are bad, you just have to, dig deep, get on with it. It will pass. And likewise, happy moments, they pass too. So once we sort of accept the full gamut of human emotions, I think we'll all be a little bit, ironically, happier for it.
I think. And so, where did you start your journey? Where were you, in KL or?
Yeah, so we started in Kuala Lumpur, and literally day one was a complete nightmare because we got onto the highway by accident. We had to lift our bikes over the central reservation. It was just we barely made any distance on day one, and thought, oh my gosh, we've said we're going to cycle all the way home. I don't think this is possible, but. Yeah, Malaysia is a fascinating place to start because it's a really interesting cultural place. I think you've got such an interesting dynamic mix, as you know, probably
Sure.
having been there.
Yeah. And so where did you go? Did you start from KL and go north, presumably up to
Yeah.
Thailand,
So
and then
sorry, go for it.
no, and then squiggle your way through from there, or
Yeah, on the website I had at the time, it literally just said direction or map up and left. That was sort of the general direction of travel. So
yeah,
up into like Thailand, Laos, China. I was desperate to see the stans, so we did quite a big detour around all the stans like Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan. We really wanted to go across Iran, but at the time the visa rules had changed that you need a guide to go with you, and obviously this is a self-supported journey. Hiring a guide every day would be very expensive, so we ended up going hitching a lift on a cargo ship across the Caspian Sea from Turkmenistan over to Azerbaijan, and then through Turkey, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, home.
fantastic. Did you record any of this? Or...
Yeah, so we had a website at the time called Back to Blighty. And you know what, Charlie? I had grand designs to turn this into a book, and I have written an extensive diary.
Not too late.
I will.
Yeah.
But I got back and I sort of touted my wares around the publishers, and they were like, Pip, you're a bit behind. Like, this long distance travel is sort of being done. You're not famous. So unless it's like a really different story, it's going to be kind of hard to get off the ground. But I haven't given up on it, Charlie. It's still
good.
Still there in the back of my head as something to do.
Yeah, I mean, you've got tons of footage and millions of pictures.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we've got so much footage, so many pictures, and just the stories. For me, that's always the most interesting thing of any journey. I think being a journalist, inherently nosy, and you touched on it earlier, but the ability to learn from anybody, and that's one of my things that I love, is that everyone can teach you something. Yeah. And it's just a case of finding out what that is. And that for me was the most inspiring thing throughout this journey. The number of people that you could talk to, the wisdom that is in this world is quite phenomenal. And I think in the West we have a very arrogant assumption that our way of doing things is the best. And actually I think the wisest people are the ones that listen. So yeah, it's a good practice in listening. Yeah.
Silly question. How many punctures did you get? Roughly.
A lot. I'd probably say about 35, which actually over the course of a year isn't too bad.
It's not too bad. And I mean, was it the same bike, or did you get it nicked at all, or did you have to buy another bike, or same bike?
The only thing, again, like this whole journey sort of points to the goodness of humanity. The only thing we had nicked in the entire journey was a bungee cord. Wow. And that was because we left the bike out overnight and we left a bungee cord attached to it. And fair play, if you're going to leave something out, then, well, you know. So yeah, that was quite lucky in a sense.
Yeah. Where was the best place that you woke up in?
Oh
you
my gosh.
suddenly thought, oh my God, this is amazing. You know.
The Asi Plateau in Kazakhstan.
Really?
It was just beautiful. So we met up. Have you heard of warm showers?
No.
It's sort of like couch surfing, but it's for cyclists.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great resource. And we met this Australian pilot on it, who was a pilot for Almaty Airlines or something.
Yeah.
And he was a little bit hyperactive, let us say. And he was like, "You've got to go here. It's amazing." And so we made a bit of a detour to go there. And it was completely off-road. We didn't see anyone for days. We were drinking out of streams and rivers. But when you wake up and you've just got this vast like landscape all to yourself, like rolling hills and trickling streams, and the stars at night when you set up camp, you just look up and it's like illuminated the sky. And that for me was just phenomenal, when you feel like you're really on your own in the world and also surviving in the world, and you're thinking, oh, this is incredible. So yeah, that for me was a really special moment, and probably when I think about the trip, it's one of the ones that warms my heart.
I bet. So I suppose in a sense you've answered that, or would that be the same question answer, and that would be the favourite stretch of the journey?
Central Asia.
Central Asia.
I mean, I love Islamic culture generally. I think, unfortunately, given the current state of political affairs, it's often slightly, the Islamic world, I feel, is unfairly treated, because actually their whole culture is about a guest is a gift from God. And I think anyone who has spent any time in an Islamic place will just know how wonderful they are. So yeah, it was really amazing for me to spend time in the stands.
Yes, it's kind of like a kind of mi casa tu casa, so it's
Mm.
mentality, isn't it? It's the kind of sharing, it's the traveling guest, and the glass of water is always come and stay. One of the people actually I've been sort of following is this guy who you'd be interested in. It's Francis Tapon, and
Okay,
I just put a little. Actually, I just sent you a little link this morning to the kind of the workings of the next issue.
oh yeah, no, I had a brief go through
Okay,
that.
and Francis is in there, and he's doing every single country in Africa, and he's got to 50. I think he's got to 52 out of 54. So he's on the home stretch. I mean, he's really nearly there. But so yeah, it's been really interesting kind of following him. But great to get all of you in one room, wouldn't it? And go
Do you know
plonk.
what? I'm bang up for that, Charlie. I think having had a look at your issue, I was like, God, there's some really interesting stories here, and sort
Yeah.
of stories that you're not necessarily hearing all the time through the mainstream. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting. With I've just interviewed actually Ian Redmond, who's the he's the chairman of the Great Ape Alliance, and I've just put up a little clip from him on the website at the moment. There's going to be other bits, but just him describing what climate change is,
Mm.
in a really simple way, in a way that's very sort of accessible, and which kind of you enter it into a slightly different. Well, sorry, a bit mangled there, but basically what he was showing was this wonderful symbiotic relationship between the animals and the trees, and the fact that the trees are completely dependent upon the animals. And we tend to think of it being the other way around in a way, but just seed dispersal and everything else, and then from there, how climate can be affected around the world, and biotic pumps and so on. Anyway, he describes it kind of really,
Ah,
really
okay.
brilliantly, and I just think
Was watching it.
it's great and it's something that I think every sort of MP should just watch, because it's sort of 12 minutes of him kind of just being brilliant, basically,
Yeah.
And thank God I didn't ask him any dumb questions or interrupt him, because he was in this kind of full flow, and so I think it's lovely. I think we're at that very interesting time where this information has to be disseminated,